If you're enjoying Pigoted Podcast, then why not sign up to our Patreon? You can find it at patreon.com/pigoted, and on there you get loads of extra benefits, such as early access to episodes. You get access to Pigoted Extra, which is extra content from our guests, usually about 45 minutes to an hour long of extra content every single week. You get merchandise, you get to ask questions, you get to be part of our Discord community. We have a Discord server where people chat and ask questions and discuss topics that have been brought up on the podcast. You get all that through Patreon, and it starts from just £3 a month. Plus, you'll be supporting the podcast. You'll be helping the podcast to grow, helping us to fund bigger and better guests and to pay for all the editing and that kind of thing. So please, if you are enjoying Pigoted, then think about signing up and becoming a Patreon from just £3 a month over at patreon.com/pigoted. Welcome to Pigoted Podcast. Joining us today is comedian Justin Moorhouse. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Freddie.
Hi. Yeah, cool. And joining us as our expert is Sam Fennah. Hi, Sam.
I'm not much of an expert, so...
Well, we use the term expert
loosely,
fucking liberally.
Okay.
Here. It's basically anyone that knows slightly more than me about anything.
Okay.
We slap the expert tag on, and so far...
Everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. And so far, nobody's noticed or called... Mate, we had a flat earther on twice, and I introduced him as an expert, and that's flat earth. So
that would define loose.
Well, the thing is I think expert is the expert of the thing that you're obsessed with. So in terms of flat earth, he is an expert in it, even though I think it's bollocks.
No, he's not an expert in it. He's passionate. There's a difference between
I would agree.
expertise and being knowledgeable and being passionate and deranged and deluded.
Well, I take those lines on this podcast and I fucking blur them.
Well, there you go.
I blur them as much as I possibly can because it's hard getting people to drive to Runcorn to do this.
Yeah, except flat earthers.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have as far to go, do they?
I wasn't sure if the car was going to stop and I was going to get shot in a turnip field.
Really? Because it's like...
It's out the way.
Do you think? Runcorn?
A little bit from where I was.
I live quite rurally, and I like it. I enjoy it. I don't like
You think you're calling this rural, Runcorn?
No, I don't think.
No, it's not. It's an overspill, isn't it? Well, it's a town in its own right, but the majority of it is an overspill, isn't it?
But the thing is if you'd never been anywhere other than, say, like Liverpool, and you went to Runcorn, you'd be like, well, it's a bit out of the way, this. But because we are like... Because as comedians, we travel to, hey, do you want to do comedy night above a pub in the middle of fucking Lincolnshire in a village that no one's ever heard of?
Jamie Sutherland.
Well, this is my first time doing anything like this, so I'll.
Oh, really?
I've never done anything like this before.
Wow, I'm very flattered that you've chosen to break in your...
I'll remember this for better or worse.
Oh, okay.
Whatever happens, I'll remember your fucking face.
Excellent. Now, take your pants off and let's begin. So you're an expert in... Well, what is it that you do?
I'm a writer.
What sort of writing do you specialise in?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. So you're an expert in science fiction writing then? Science fiction?
Well, when you're writing anything, you need to do a certain amount of research. If you're writing a political drama, you need to know a little bit about politics. If you want to work in an economic system, you need to know a little thing about economic systems. So naturally, over the course of writing, I've learnt a thing or two about some of the subjects we might be discussing today.
Well, there you go. You see? So I think that qualifies him as an expert. And if it doesn't, then are you an expert in sci-fi?
No.
Well, you know more than both of us, so don't worry about it. You're fine.
Right, well,
in fact, I'd go as far to say is I'm anti-sci-fi.
Oh, go on. So what's your...
Oh, I just think I think the idea when you write science fiction, I think what you do is you take away all the rules of convention and you can just write whatever bullshit you want.
I know you're mistaking sci-fi with fantasy. What do you define sci-fi as? What's your definition?
Lasers, planets with more than one moon.
You are so right. Okay, then I am a fucking expert.
So Saturn.
Yeah,
you can have complex infrastructures with anything, horror, fantasy, as long as you write.
No, I just mean science fiction. I think generally science fiction is fine, but this film that's out at the minute now, seeing it, Dunk, whatever it's called.
What?
Dunk.
Dune.
Yeah, is it
fucking Dunk?
Dune.
It looks like Dunk, doesn't it? If you see what they've done with the letters, they made the E try and look cool. So
I thought you were on about the new Space Jam, which isn't sci-fi.
No, no, I don't dislike. I do. I dislike science fiction.
Okay, this should be interesting then.
Do you know what? I would throw my hat into the ring as well and say I don't like science fiction either.
This will be very interesting.
I'll tell you why I don't like science fiction. Who is the greatest writer of all time?
There is none. It's subjective.
William Shakespeare. Did he write science fiction? I don't think he did.
Okay, well...
That's my case.
There is no greatest writer of all time. That's entirely subjective.
But he's already rested his case.
I'm an expert.
I don't know what you want him to do.
Look, you said I was the fucking expert. So defer to me.
Do you know what? This is probably going to shock you. I have never, ever watched a single Star Wars
That
movie.
doesn't shock me that much.
I've watched them all. I like them.
Do you?
Yeah, that's not science fiction.
No, is it not?
They're cowboy films in space.
Oh, right, okay. What did he say? Lasers and planets with
Yeah,
more
I'm
than one
pretty
moon.
sure that was exactly your definition.
That's pretty much, wow. I mean, it's pretty impressive to contradict yourself 4.5 minutes
Being
into a
deliberately
podcast.
contrary, just so I can show you that I can move around within the bounds of fantasy.
Okay.
You see? He's
See,
boxing clever.
Okay, what about Lord of the Rings? Anything like that?
No, I can't stand that.
Yeah, I can't stand Lord of the Rings either.
So you're in the same camp as like Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant, anything that goes into the fantasy genre, you don't take any. So what's your paradigm? What would you say is the height of fiction?
What's the height of fiction?
Yeah.
Me
Porn?
telling Freddie why I can't do his gigs.
I was going to say Pornhub.
What's the height of fiction? I mean, I quite like stuff like James Joyce and things like that. I like storytelling. I like stuff about the human condition.
And right, so what is the ultimate utility of fiction? What's it for? Why does it exist?
He got his pen out then to make a note.
To tell us, so we can learn about ourselves and find out what makes us tick as humans.
Yeah.
So Sam's
I've no interest in the otherworldly.
Okay.
We've got enough to do here.
Okay, so you believe that fiction is to cultivate sensibilities, to clarify convictions, to reflect.
It's easy for you to say that.
Well, I'm trying to understand where the fuck you're coming from.
I'm pulling your dick.
I shouldn't have come.
No, what I'm saying is, if you ask me the question, I'm not into science fiction. Sci-fi, the kind of like nerdy kind of like idea of sci-fi. I don't like that.
Don't you think that there is an element of poetry to sci-fi that can allow us to explore things that would otherwise be polarizing?
No.
Really?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
no,
no.
You're right.
So the idea of War of the Worlds being, relating to xenophobia.
I've no idea about that.
Do you know the problem is though, is that I'm a lot older than you, and I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and it's all we had. Sci-fi.
Oh, I think you meant xenophobia.
I think they won the Eurovision Song Contest. So I just found I like comics. I did like comics.
So you like stuff like Spider-Man, Batman, stuff like that?
When you say Spider-Man, Batman, stuff like that, that's putting them two together and they don't like each other at all.
You know what I mean? The super. When you say comics, I assume you mean superhero
yes,
comics.
I do like comics. Yeah, I like comic books.
Right, then isn't that a bit of a...
I feel like I'm in therapy. You're asking me
You
questions.
are. Isn't that a little bit of a paradox then? Because
yes, of course it is.
Right, okay.
Well,
I'm aware of that paradox.
The reason that we're sort of gathered here today, as it were...
Can I just say what I don't like, and then he knows where we're at?
Okay, it's...
I'm assuming your gender as well, by the way, there. We talk about paradoxes.
Don't
There's a lot of things he doesn't like. Go on, what is it you don't like?
Doctor Who.
And bearing in mind, some of them might be listening.
Doctor Who.
Oh, right, Doctor Who. I'm not a fan of Doctor Who either.
Have you ever been asked to be on Doctor Who?
No.
No, not as a guest.
No.
I think you're the level of, Doctor Who.
What a way to bring the man down.
No, I
he
think
just said he doesn't like it. I thought you would be great.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it. It used to frighten me, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never really sort of got it. Just I don't like.
I'm surprised
stuff.
about that. I thought you'd like that.
No, it's not my bag at
You'd
all.
been a lonely child.
No, it's not my bag at all. I was very popular. Had lots of friends.
Are you talking about the older shows or the newer generation?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, I lump it all in together as well. I just not my bag. I don't know.
That's fine.
It's just stuff like. I think part of the appeal with Doctor Who, and apologies if you're a fan or anything like that, I don't mean to insult you.
If you're a Whoey.
But is that what they call themselves?
I don't think Whovians.
It's a Whovian.
Yeah. It should be called Whois though, shouldn't it?
Well, I quite like Doctor Who. I'm not a super fan.
But part of my thing isn't it meant to be intentionally shit? Like, isn't that the idea behind it? Is that it's meant to intentionally be a bit rubbish?
No. The goal of Doctor Who, as with a lot of fiction, is to explore the thing about everything is that's very complex and nuanced. And when you're trying to explore these things fictionally, it can be very hard to do that flat without polarizing people. And so what they do is they say, okay, well, instead of races, we'll have aliens. And instead of land masses, we'll have planets. And through some subtle writing, not all the time, but through subtle writing, they can get across a very interesting point that other people might not have thought of. And so when you say, oh, yeah, why don't the Varakatash just do that? I say, well, why doesn't America?
Oh, right.
And it relates.
So like Cybermen are like stormtroopers.
Cybermen are a commentary on our over reliance on technology,
on automation.
Automation and how it basically consumes our lives.
Well, you get that because you're, well read and interested and bright. But your average Doctor Who fan's not going to get that, are you? Your actual Doctor Who.
Well, that's the good thing about Doctor Who because it's...
Yeah, surely you just go, oh, look, David Tennant's covered in gunge. That's funny, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
To an extent, yes. But also, that's with anything. Any fictional thing, even your favorite, even Shakespeare, there's going to be people who can't read into that or won't. So that's with anything. That's congruent through all of fiction. That's not just sci-fi.
I think we're starting on the wrong foot here. I think we have more in common than we have that divides us.
Yeah, and isn't that a lovely little narrative arc? Enemies become friends.
Well, it's been fun. I'll sit now.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we've sort of concluded within 10 minutes and everything's sorted.
Okay, Squid Game. Let's go.
Let's talk about Squid Game because that's what everyone's talking about at the moment. Now, you've watched all of Squid Game, Sam.
I watched 5 minutes with English dubbing. I had to turn it off because it was fucking atrocious.
Really, I like the English dubbing. I think it's funny.
That's the problem.
Really?
Funny.
Yeah,
I don't think it's supposed to be funny.
I watched Money Heist for the same reason.
Right, okay, so...
Can you not read the subtitles?
No, I can read the subtitles. I just think it's funnier to listen to...
No, because sometimes people can't read the subtitles. They can't split their eyes.
Do you know what? I get used to it really quickly. Like I know that some people have a problem, but I always think, is it really that bad just to...
Well, I'll tell you... okay, let me break it down for you. The Korean actors do a fantastic job, and acting isn't just about what the words that are said, it's how you say them. And the Korean actors do an excellent job, not just through their physical performance, but through their emotions. That is completely lost with the English dub.
Well, there was a thing on TikTok, which is obviously the source of all of my information.
I wouldn't know anything about TikTok.
It's like Wikipedia, but even more reliable.
In shorter bursts.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, it was like a American Korean who was saying, I can speak Korean, obvs. And she said that if you watched the Korean version, if you watch the American version, you're watching a totally different show.
You are.
Because you lose so much of the nuance in what's being said.
Yeah.
So, and apparently in stuff, there's loads of tropes in South Korean sitcoms and dramas and stuff that all South Koreans would know about that to a Western audience we just completely lose. So apparently there's a trope of the intelligent but poor character. Like that's a thing, to have a character who's very clever but for some reason is
I would say that's unique to Korean cinema. We have Pursuit of Happiness, we have all sorts of stories, I think, that...
Name two more.
Name two more, Christ.
Well, there
Only Fools and Horses?
Only Fools and Horses.
Who's the clever one there?
Del Boy, he's really clever.
Yeah, all right, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Smart, Blackadder.
Blackadder, I'd say, is definitely one. I'm not sure about Del Boy, though, because would you think that he's intelligent, or I'd say he's more savvy.
Yeah, but that's the form of intelligence. He might not be... well read.
You're mistaking intelligence with education. He's not educated, but he is an intelligent man.
But
he has got the ability. If he went to the right school, he'd have done very well. His IQ would have been incredible.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll concede on that when you both gang up.
You don't need to concede. You just have to accept.
Yeah. So
I know, but if I say concede, it makes it sound more gracious on my part.
It doesn't. It makes it sound mealy-mouthed.
Going back to Squid Game.
Yeah, you're going to have to say that a lot because we'll just get sidetracked otherwise.
For the people who've not seen Squid Game, what is Squid Game?
Okay, to summarize, Squid Game is essentially a collection of individuals who find themselves on the back foot of life. They've got no money. Some of them are having to sell their organs, or, you know, they're fucked. They're in debt. They need money. They are approached by a mysterious stranger who tells them that they can earn an insane amount of money by partaking in a series of children's games. Naturally, they all agree, only to find out that the games are deadly. And as the story progresses, we find out more about the game, what they're all there for, and obviously the tension lies in who will win, who will walk away with a cash prize. And there's also that element of battle royale, sort of.
I'll tell you what, he summed that up well, didn't he?
Yeah.
He summed that up really well.
I've watched most of the first episode, and I'm at the point where they've just got into the house, the Big Brother house, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they've all woke up with the numbers on.
Yeah.
And there's been a fight, and like people have seen each other, and he's spotted the woman who stole the money off him.
Yeah. So I reckon you're at half the first episode.
Right.
Yeah. That's good. That's good because I don't want this to turn into like a review thing.
No, but it is a phenomenon, isn't it? It's hugely popular, isn't it? It's one of the most popular shows on Netflix.
I think the reason it's hugely popular is because what it has to say is something that everyone can understand. Squid Game is not subtle. It literally has a giant fucking piggy bank hanging over their heads. Like, what's this trying to say? Well, it's obviously criticizing capitalism, and that's a hot topic right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that see, the thing about it not being subtle, I think is a good thing, to be honest with you.
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
I think that's part of its mass appeal.
Definitely.
Is that you don't have to, you know, like, and surely it's more important to get the message out to as many people as possible, even if that means dumbing it down a little bit.
The only thing you can...
It's the approach I've taken in comedy anyway.
you can... It's a slippery slope. If you want to put a message, you can't compromise the quality of your story. And in some places, I feel like Squid Game stumbles a bit. I think it's pursuing a message in some places more than it is a satisfying narrative. I remember telling you a few problems I had. I think it's a good show, for the record. I did enjoy it. I thought it was very interesting.
So what does it have to say about capitalism in your
well, I was going to ask that of you, actually.
Really?
Yeah, what do you think it has to say?
Well, I'm going to put that over to Justin. What do you...
I've not seen it, but if it is, if it is a commentary on the evils of capitalism, well, thank God the kindly socialists of Netflix have brought that to us.
Evils of capitalism. I'm writing that down.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically about sort of money corrupting, basically. I think, and
I mean, it does corrupt, though, doesn't it?
The unfairness of the system. Do you think money corrupts?
Yeah, I think it's probably apposite to talk about Newcastle United as well.
Yeah, and
the money that's flowing in there.
Are you like bothered about Newcastle United's new owners?
I think the Saudi regime are a despicable organisation. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they would. I don't think the Saudi government would pass a fit and proper test to run a football club.
I tell you what,
it's been clouded in this sort of fund that's come.
I wouldn't say money corrupts. I think the obtainment of money.
I was going to say the same thing. The acquisition part corrupts. Because
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say corruption comes into it. Human beings are animals, and when we're born, you know, for the thousands of years before we had civilization, hundreds of thousands of years, our main goals were survival, water, food. I've got to fuck something around that. You know, just killing someone over a berry, and our focus
sounds like a weekend in Glasgow.
Nice one. But our main focus was to survive. What happens now? Upon birth, most people, definitely in the West, food, water, protection, shelter, all of our basic animal needs are met. And so once you... I need to get used to this. Yeah. Once you address the foundational sort of needs of the animal, what does the brain do? What is an idle brain to do? It needs to invent its monsters to justify its existence. Money removes obstacles, and when you remove the obstacles, the striving, the obtainment, when you're at the top of the staircase, the only thing left to play with is those below. That's where you get the magnifying glass and you start torching the ants. Money doesn't corrupt. It just takes away the mask. It leaves people alone with themselves, and they discover quite often dark things in us all.
That's the individual, isn't it? So that's about the individual and what drives us. What kind of what you're saying is that animal instinct. That's what drives us. However, sort of like the consumption that drives capitalism, the mass consumption and the sort of. I think Kerry Godliman said it brilliantly once, when she said she used to walk into John Lewis at Christmas and just look at it and go, "It's landfill." It's kind of this cycle that we're on is kind of pointless, isn't it? It doesn't. We're not leaving anything. No, capitalism doesn't leave anything behind for the benefit of others. Not like altruistic acts do, or philanthropic acts do, or culture, or art, or music, or these things are very, very temporary. And I think the pursuit of money is
okay. You bring up a very interesting point with the idea that capitalism doesn't leave anything good behind, or anything solid like music or art. Would you say that music or art or the creation of things is part of the capitalist system?
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Absolutely not. But now is a great time to bring up our Patreon.
Subtle.
www.patreon.com/bigoted. And sorry, I'm just here to blur the lines. They call me Robin Thicke. That's how much I blur these lines.
Because he's a thief and he's not intelligent. How much is the Patreon?
It is just £4 a month, £1 a week.
That's all right, isn't
loads
it?
of extra content. Yeah, absolutely.
Throwing scraps at your feet as you dance.
You what?
Throwing scraps at your feet as you dance.
I shall take all of those scraps because it's a damn sight easier taking them on Patreon than it is driving 140 miles to Scunthorpe to perform in front of 200 borderline inbred fucking...
You're not working in Scunthorpe, are you, Sue?
Just thought that then. When I said Scunthorpe in my head, I had my diary in front of me and I was like, when am I next in Scunthorpe?
So what do you get for your £4 a month?
What, sorry? So for £4 a month, you get access to extra content, one extra episode a week, Pigoted Extra, plus all the extra content that we make on top of that, plus access to Discord servers, loads of stuff, deals on merchandise.
Discord servers?
Well, we've got a Discord server.
What is a Discord server? I've seen this. I don't know what it is.
It's sort of like...
A Discord server is an online community filled with people with a similar interest, so you can connect with people, talk with the same.
Like a chat group,
basically.
Yeah, it's like
a chat room.
Yeah, sort of like a chat room.
A message board.
Yeah, we've gone backwards basically.
Right,
we've kind of gone backwards. It's a bit retro.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it like Reddit?
No.
I don't know what that is either.
Fucking hell.
Oh my
God! Like ICQ.
We're getting off topic here.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is
the advert for Patreon.
What?
So well, let's tie it into capitalism then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you support capitalism?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you support capitalism?
Generally, yes. But do I think it's... But I mean, I feel powerless. I feel powerless to not be compliant in a capitalist society.
But do you know what it is when people say, do you support capitalism, what they will then do is they will then take you to the extremes of capitalism. And then they go, well, how can you support this? And it's like, yeah, but if you do that to the extremes of anything,
well, that's
then
it.
How can you support it?
When people say capitalism is evil, that makes absolutely no fucking sense. It's like saying a hammer is evil. It can be used to build a house or smash someone's head in. It's the people.
That's very true.
You know, humans misuse these infrastructures. Capitalism isn't an ideology. So it's an economic infrastructure.
So the idea of capitalism is, and I'm not an expert in any way at all. I don't understand most of the things that we're probably going to be talking about. But the idea of capitalism is that you want to gather in as much money and stock and build it, whatever it is, as many assets more than anybody else. Yeah?
Not necessarily. Capitalism doesn't have to be that. It can be. Some people do pursue it to that end. Capitalism can simply be having an idea, wanting to control and nurture that idea, and naturally, organically growing success. If, say, for example, if you wanted to invent helicopter hats, you were passionate about this idea, you could design it, draw it up, sell a few, hire people, build yourself up. Before you know it, you're one of these evil tycoons, but it's an idea that you wanted to control. And
yeah, but I'm saying the very broad kind of idea of capitalism is that, you know, the rich get richer.
The private ownership of production.
Yes.
Yeah, that's capitalism.
Right, well, I don't believe in that as a complete whole system. I believe in social enterprise. I believe in a little bit of social democracy. I don't believe, I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe it. I'm not a Marxist.
Well, that's the thing. What I've always found interesting is when you ask
I'm
someone...
a soft capitalist if there's such a thing.
That's fine.
I'm hard-nosed, but with a soft skin.
When you ask people to define capitalism, you get the same answer every time. It's an objective infrastructure. Everyone knows what it is. The private ownership means of production. They all say roughly the same thing. Now, you ask someone, what's socialism? Fucking different answer every time.
Socialism,
because it exists within different...
Well, socialism
it's
to me...
It's a Venn diagram of stuff.
Yeah, but very generally, socialism is based on a few tenets of being fair, that society is only as strong as its weakest member, and that we have collective responsibility for ourselves.
Right. And
can you name some socialist countries?
Britain at the moment.
Socialist?
In many ways.
Oh, are we socialist? We've got a socialist system. We got the NHS is quite a socialist system.
Well, the last few budgets we've had.
Well, you know, it won't be for long.
Yeah, yes. What I mean, at the moment, the most socialist measures that have ever taken place in this country have taken place in the last 2 years.
Well, let me talk quickly about the NHS. So
let's not talk about your beef with you having a pain in your chest and driving and ignoring any advice that you could have got.
What?
And complaining about the NHS. No, we're not going to talk about the NHS on this podcast. We're talking about
12 hour wait last night.
Because you're not an emergency. You were triaged.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
There's a history here that I should be...
The triage is you're assessed and you weren't seen to be having acute need.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me wait at home. Let me go home. I literally said...
You look like every one of those people on the ambulance program.
No, what's your emergency?
When they arrive, they sat there in an ill-fitting sweater, a baldy head, tattoos, a beard, sat on a cheap leather settee.
Wow, that's very classist of you, Justin Moorhouse.
This is nothing about classes. This is about you sitting there going... I'm not going to wait in no fucking hospital, mate. I'm not going to do that.
Right, so I'll tell you what it is, right? So over the last few days, I've had a slight pressure on my chest.
Last few days.
Right. So maybe
so
three
bear in
days.
mind, that's the last few days. Remember the words that we use, A and E, accident and emergency.
Yeah, maybe 3 days, right?
3 days.
So yeah, that's few, isn't it? 3 is few. 3 is the least of few.
I remember a lovely...
it goes 2 is a couple. Yeah. 1 is 1, 2 is a couple.
That old joke in the way somebody goes, is a couple 2 or 3? Well, my mum says 2, my dad says 3. That's why they're divorced. It's also like in this modern world we live in now where we do not necessarily use the standard pronouns that people can use the pronouns they and them.
Yeah.
Like the only problem with that for me is like if somebody tells me that they are coming for dinner, how many am I catering for?
Did I tell you I went to a...
Thanks for not even acknowledging that I did a joke. And just wait till I finish speaking to get your own thing
There you go. I gave you a bit of a...
Thanks, man.
I went to a dinner party a couple of weeks ago, and it was me and my missus and like her friends. Do you know what I mean? And someone introduced themselves.
It would have been your friends.
Well, it wouldn't have been, but I haven't fucking got any left now. Because she took them all, eight women.
No, it's more of your personality.
Yeah, and I'm a cunt as well. Probably doesn't help. Someone introduced himself, but he introduced himself, and then he put his pronouns on it, but he didn't say, my name is, and my pronouns are. He just introduced it as one thing. And so he said, hi, I'm Jonathan, they, them. And so
he didn't say that, they said that.
Well, listen. Well, all right, okay. But listen, but afterwards I was talking to my missus, and it was only through talking to her did I realise that, I thought that was his surname. So
Jonathan, they, them.
Yeah, I thought his name was Jonathan, they, them. And so I was like, I met Jonathan, they, them. She was like, that's not what you think it is. That could have been really.
I've seen people's pronouns to be Jonathan, they, them, him, his.
I have seen people on Twitter that do that. There's somebody who I follow on Twitter who's put their pronouns in their bio and they put he, she, they. And it's like, well, why did you need to mention it? Because I would have got it right regardless, wouldn't I?
Well, yeah.
Unless I'd have gone rogue and just sort of,
it's
G or whatever, like the X and the E thing.
It's funny.
Do you see what I mean when you remove the natural selection pressures off the backs of humans, we fiddle with the small print and we will continue to do that forever.
Yeah.
So it is unsurprising to me that we are now at a stage that we're discussing this, something that would 50 years ago be completely absurd, but now and you can argue that it's moral.
Are you a musician?
No,
you should be.
Do you reckon?
Why?
He'd make a great. He'd be an amazing lyricist and vocalist.
I definitely think lyricist. Can you sing?
How can I fuck? I've never tried.
You could maybe be.
You could be like. I reckon you could be.
My dad's a musician.
Oh, there you go. You could maybe be the Bernie Taupin. You need to find yourself an Elton John.
Maybe one day.
What kind of music does your dad do?
He's, he was in a band called Buster, which was a pop.
Rhymes?
No, Buster. Buster Rhymes. It was big in Japan. He was in a band called Buster. That was pop. A lot of love songs. And then he made his own called Alternative
Buster,
Radio.
Buster.
Yeah.
Alternative radio?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Is he on Spotify?
I think so.
Let's have a look. Let's listen to some.
He did.
Okay, just a sec. I'm going to look for it. Go on, you keep talking.
Look up Alternative Radio. That's his newest stuff. He's got a new album coming out.
Alternative
Tuppence to Cross the Mersey recently.
Radio. Artist. Alternative Radio. Concertina Ballerina.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a listen to this. Do you know what? We're under so much pressure now to go, hey, it's really good, that.
I know it's really bad.
Let's have a listen. It's the YouTube copyright strike going, isn't it?
That's right.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
it's all right, that.
He's a very strange man. That's where I got a lot of it from. That song actually it was a foundation for a lot of my weird writing. It's very freak show, very.
It sounds like a
circus.
Yeah,
it sounds like the theme tune to like a children's TV show in the 80s.
Circus kind of thing.
Yeah,
come and see us, and everybody
He does.
He's
got a vast array from
dungeon,
classical to pop to dungeon.
He's got a vast.
Oh, right.
Does
Nice.
he collect things?
Collect.
Yeah.
Does he collect things.
That song is the last sound many women hear.
Dad, I'm fucking sorry. I didn't fucking know this was gonna be like this. They asked me to come on. It was impulsive of me. My mom was the one who told me to do it.
Fuck.
She said, "You should go and do it. I should be the only one who has to live down here." Go to Runcorn.
Spread the word.
Your dad went, "Shut up." Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the last sound you heard as you were locking the door was an accordion.
Does is that your dad's full-time job?
Yeah, that and putting on plays and stuff.
Nice.
And teaching guitar. He teaches guitar. If you've ever wanted to learn guitar, he's the man.
Well, I just said, are you musical? You said no.
Well, I don't play any instruments.
Get him to teach you.
No. Well, I can play a bit of guitar and a bit of.
You should
keyboard.
form a band, mate. Definitely. I think
you would be a good lyricist. So
it's maybe a good lyricist, but it's not within my DNA, unfortunately, to stand up on a stage and.
Going back, yeah. I mean, who'd do that? going back to capitalism.
Yeah.
You remember that? Remember we were talking about that a while ago. What sort of capitalist country? Sorry, what sort of socialist countries? I mean, you mentioned the UK. If we go outside of that, what sort of socialist countries do you think we should model ourselves on?
The UK isn't socialist, though.
No, I don't think so either. But I'm waiting.
It has socialism integrated.
Basically, trying to get him to say Scandinavia. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you to say Denmark or Sweden or something.
So just say it, and you can say what you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if they are socialist countries.
Well, they're not. You see, so a lot of people.
Wow. That's why I didn't say it.
So a lot of people like to.
Here's the thing: very few are.
Yeah.
Most countries have.
The ones that are, let's be fair, aren't doing dead well. Like,
well, that's the thing.
Well, who is a socialist country?
Venezuela, Cuba.
It's communist, isn't it, Cuba?
No, I think it was liberated from communism, wasn't
it?
By God, what they say
Castro.
from Mexico? Castro.
Yeah.
So I think it's socialist now. If it's if it was still communist, that would be just
Venezuela is, and right now it's like 7 million quid for some bread. It's it's
Is
not,
Venezuela the first country to accept Bitcoin as legal tender?
No, that was El Salvador, I think.
One of them, isn't it? Venezuela.
One of them. It's around Central America ways.
Nicaragua. No, but I think it depends what because Americans would call Britain a socialist state, wouldn't they? They certainly think
that would be very ironic given their current administration. To call us socialist.
It's but I mean, I don't think that we are. I mean, yes, we have the NHS. Can I talk about my NHS experience?
Oh, fucking go on then. Right.
So add myself a little pressure in my chest. I ring. Been going about 3 days. 3 days, and I'd had a sausage roll. That's what they said. Actually, is it a sausage roll, sir? Have you been to Greg's? So I'd done it with ibuprofen. It wasn't really going away because it was in my chest. I thought it's not worth going to the doctors over. I'll just ring NHS 111. It took ages to get through. But then I got through and they asked me some questions. Then they put me through to somebody else, asked me some questions. And they went, all right, okay, we need to call you back in an hour. We'll call you back within an hour and then we'll ask some more questions. We're passing you through to some other team. I was like, whatever. 3 hours later, no phone call. And they ring me just as I'm about to go on stage, like literally 2 minutes away from going on. I was like, spoke to the dude. I was like, look, I'm really sorry, but I'm about to go to work. And he was like, yeah, but this is your health. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't do anything about it now. I literally have to go to work in a second. And he went, oh, and I said, well, just call me back in an hour. Just call me back. And he went, we can't call you back. I went, what? And he goes, yeah, you'll have to ring NHS 111 again and start the process again.
This is the thing with the NHS. The NHS, the way I see it, is
well, let me finish because you'll get it like even more. I think I know the point that you're going to make.
Go on,
and I'll
drive it home for me.
Yeah, it'll be driven home. Yeah. You just all you got to do is put your seatbelt on. I'll do the driving for you.
I'm ready.
So,
that's what his dad says.
Oh, and by the way, I've won a significant amount of money. Would you like some champagne?
Why are you wearing a top hat? You don't worry about it. Ring da ding ding da ding.
Right, okay.
Apologies to your dad. This is just a joke. We don't know you.
I had a really weird dream about being on a merry-go-round. Yeah, dream. So anyway,
I've got popcorn in my hair.
Fuck me, you're milking it now.
It's not candy floss.
I knew it's a candy floss.
Anyway.
Just for the record, I didn't grow up in a fucking circus. Right? Just to get that out there for the record. Yeah. In case things get legal.
The sexual predator thing might be something in that, but I did not grow up on a circus. So anyway, NHS, I ring them back after I've finished. I'm driving home, I ring them back. It takes 40 minutes to get through to them. Get through to this woman, starts asking me all the same questions as before. I was like, look, I've told... She was like, I have to start again. So we start again. Asked me loads of questions. By this point, I've driven home. I've literally parked in the drive. And she goes, right, okay, you need to go to hospital. I've booked you in an appointment for a hospital 25 minutes away. And I went, right, when? And she was like, well, you need to set off now. And I was like, can I not just wait till the morning? I'm really tired now. She was like, no, this is your health. You have to go right now. I said, look, there's a hospital 5 minutes away from me. Can I not go to that one? They went, no, you can't go. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Right, fine. So I drive 25 minutes to this hospital in Aintree, park up, walk in. She goes, right, the woman on the NHS, she goes, right, I sent you a text message. Show them that text message. And then it'll show that, you know, we've spoken and whatever. We've booked you this appointment slot. So I was like, right. Show them the text message. And the woman at the receptionist at the hospital went, yeah, there's a 12-hour wait. And I went, what? And she goes, yeah, it's a 12-hour wait. I was like, right, I'm just going to go. She was like, yeah, no worries. Got into the car, drove all the way home.
Right, okay. So you did drive the point home. So the NHS, the trouble, it's like butter spread too thinly over too much bread. It's this safety net.
That's the problem. Is why he's got
I was gonna say
too much butter.
I was going to say the same thing. That was one of the questions.
So that doubles as a diagnosis then.
Yeah. I'd be so crushed if I walked into the hospital and a doctor pointed at me and went, too much butter. Fucking hell.
It's a safety net, right? It's sort of that baseline. But if you want to get something looked at in due time, we've got to go private. At the end of the day.
Can I give you a diagnosis now, Freddie?
Yeah.
Okay. We are coming out of 18 months of the weirdest time we've ever been in our lives.
Yeah.
You spend your life constantly living on your nerves.
Yep.
You've recently moved house or exchanged contracts on a house, and that's been stressing you for the best part of 12 months.
Yep.
Your relationship isn't going well. I just added that bit. But there's a lot of stuff going on, you know. It's probably just a little bit of stress and pressure, mate. You know, you are overweight, you're not healthy, you don't exercise. So maybe just a little bit of that.
That might be true, but if it was serious.
Yeah, but what I would say is the local Bupa hospital or whatever the healthcare is, the Nuffield or whatever, 50 quid for the GP.
Yeah.
You just walk in.
Well, the thing is...
Peace of mind.
You
can afford that.
Well, the thing is, though, is I'm sort of torn between the two. Because on the one hand, I think that healthcare should be free and I think it's a basic human right.
Yep.
But on the other hand, if the experience that I had last night, its
functionality is compromised.
There's literally no way in hell that would happen in a private
We know that
company.
the NHS is under severe strain. We know this. It's come through the toughest time it's ever come through. So really, you should have taken some of that strain away from your self-induced kind of
gluttony.
So would you say private healthcare is objectively superior?
No. I'd say the system is. I'd say sort of getting an appointment, but the point of care is not better.
But I would say...
so the like you said, the system... Because a lot of the time is one of the most important factors.
You have to sort of, I think you have to accept that if you have a universal healthcare system, it's going to have some negative aspects to it.
Definitely.
And one of those is the waiting times, and one of those is the administration of it. What nobody has been prepared to do for the last 30, 40, 50 years with the NHS is actually a root and branch reorganisation of the system. They spent billions on failed IT systems. And essentially, that is the big problem. It's not linked up. That's the biggest problem in the NHS.
That's what I was getting at as well. So the 12-hour wait time thing is a bad thing. But what I'm looking at really is how disjointed that system was. Nobody was talking to each other.
And you got to show a text message to prove.
Well, here's the thing, is if that guy originally had have just called me back, then that would have saved on the waiting time of the second time that I had to call, because I wouldn't have had to call him for a second time. If I didn't have to go through all that procedure again, despite the fact that I'd just done it, the call would have been shorter, which would have cut waiting times again.
And also maybe causing you more stress and anxiety, which is maybe the thing. Let's just cut to the chase. It's not fit for purpose at that point. So, I mean, Apple could have done it. Your AirPods could have broke. You could have rang somebody that have told you there's some AirPods that you can go and pick up in the Wolverhampton branch tonight, or you can go to the Liverpool branch tomorrow. And you'd have done that. And that's the problem with the NHS, is that it's underfunded. It's completely underfunded.
I totally agree with that as a point.
And it's also a massive political football as well. Because nobody will say anything negative and derogatory about the NHS. They just won't, because it is this sort of lauded kind of institution. It's untouchable.
It's that and Captain Tom.
It's almost
two things.
It's almost like a new religion.
Yeah, of course it is.
People put NHS things up now, and it's
and you get this
anything that can't be criticised. You've got to be careful.
Exactly,
because if you can't criticise it, you can't fix it.
Exactly. It's like the United Reformed Church, which is where all these disparate Unitarian churches came together, and you just join the NHS, key workers. So it's NHS, key workers, and Sir Captain Tom Moore.
I'll tell you what, they were fucking liberal with that spread, weren't they? Key workers.
I know. Don't be doing my routine that I'm working on at the minute. That's how I'm paying my bills at the minute, talking about that.
Do you know what? There was
the key worker thing is this, is you are a key worker. There's definition for key worker in law until they made one.
Yeah.
Basically, if you got a lanyard from Amazon,
you
either be a key worker or exempt from wearing a mask.
There was a picture posted on social media of a guy in a mascot costume dressed like a bloody Twiglet with the caption, "How the fuck am I a key worker?"
Yeah.
Well,
it just...
There was a thing, the petrol shortage. So Morrison's...
See, it wasn't...
Morrison's were...
it wasn't a petrol shortage.
Well, I know, but I'm just using it as shorthand for what that thing was.
Oh, yeah.
The Morrison's were opening up half an hour early at the pumps.
Key workers.
For key workers. There's a woman that's made the news literally yesterday, at like local news, because she kicked off because she was a taxi driver and she thought that as a taxi driver, she should be a key worker.
She is.
What? No, she's not.
She is, because she provides a necessary service.
What, sorry?
Key work. She's part of that. I'd say she was more
No.
a key worker than a dog groomer.
Well, dog groomer's not a key worker.
According to the government, they are.
Get off.
They were allowed. Basically, key workers was always about whether you could send your kids to school. For most people, that's what it was about. Can I get rid of my kids because I am not homeschooling these people anymore?
Do you remember?
We're only taking key workers. I'm a key worker.
Do you remember when they tried to get Sports Direct classified as key workers?
Yeah, well,
like at the beginning of the pandemic, so that they could stay open. It's like, oh mate, we sell cricket bats. We've got to stay open.
Yeah. No, they did. Sports shops stayed open.
In the end, they closed them. So
in the end, they opened them. Sports shops were the ones that could stay. Decathlon opened. They stayed open.
Did they?
Because you need to, your health and fitness is very important to your mental health.
That's fucking nonsense. That's absolute fucking bollocks.
Well, Amazon stayed open, didn't they?
Did they? Oh, yeah, of course. Well, of course they did. But, yeah, I mean,
spreading that virus round in a van.
It's a fucking... Yeah, it's a fucking weird one, isn't it? How that panned out.
What's the question about this? What question are you asking me about?
Well, the question was,
is capitalism evil?
Yeah, I mean,
it is.
Inherently is. But it's. I mean, I don't.
It's not. It's not. It can't be. That doesn't make sense.
Because if you take it to its extreme point, and I know what you're saying is that, and it makes. There's always going to be victims, isn't there?
How can a thing?
You've got to look after the bottom.
Okay. You know, I'm going to have to make a reference here. That has anyone, either of you two seen Sweeney Todd?
No, I've not.
The opera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've not.
Okay, you know he kills people in the chair.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that chair's evil. The chair works fine. He's using it to kill people on.
Okay.
So that's like saying capitalism is evil.
But if the chair had autonomy and it had knives.
Capitalism doesn't have autonomy. It's a system in which we all live, and people make shit decisions. They need to be, tweaked. People are evil. People fuck up. And here's the thing.
Can you have a benign capitalism? Can you have a kindly, caring, sharing, cooperative capitalism?
It depends. This is the thing. It entirely, no.
What about David Cameron's much lauded third way? The big side.
I'll summarize it like this. Economy, in order to work, has to be objective. It has to be. It has to be an infrastructure, and that's what capitalism is. It doesn't care. It doesn't have a morality. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it so fit for purpose, in my opinion. When you start throwing in subjective moralities into something as delicate as economy, you can create all sorts of trouble. Now, can capitalism be used for good? Sure. Can it be used for evil? Sure. But is capitalism evil? Of course it is.
What about what is it now? Rather than sort of you are just you know what you're talking about, and I agree with everything you're saying because it makes sense. Because
would you like so? Right now, is it being used for good?
Yeah.
What?
Taking the extremes like Jeff Bezos.
Okay, right. Yes, the answer is yes and no. So Karl Marx, I don't know if either of you read the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, most mornings.
but Karl Marx...
I have a terrible means of production myself. Gets me going on the toilet.
That's what tofu does to you, mate.
Karl Marx, in the Communist Manifesto, admitted, it's undeniable, that there is no greater system of production of material goods than capitalism. Capitalism produces the most material goods. It is the best at that in the world. Even Karl Marx admitted that. And material goods go in hand with freedoms. So
yeah, but they would argue at what cost, though, no?
Well, let's have a look. So in the US, below the poverty line, 90% have air conditioning, 99.9% have a fridge, a microwave. So this isn't your historical poverty. So that baseline is built upon materials. And what is the king? What is the king of producing materials? Capitalism. Capitalism produces all of these resources that allow us to have freedoms, that allow us to have luxuries. And I think overall,
is a fridge a luxury?
I think it is. Yeah, definitely.
Nah,
come on. Yes,
man.
Is air conditioning where you force disparate people to live in hotter places than they would normally?
Well, it all depends on. I'm thinking, I mean,
it's all well and good saying like a fridge is a luxury, but not if you work at a fridge factory.
No,
fucking built them for 12 hours.
You're thinking from the perspective of, just the recent years. Think on a scale of, think of a universal scale. Throughout all of history, humans have struggled and suffered. Most people were in the shit. They were lucky to live to 40. If you take the vast timeline of human history and you look at us now,
but you can't compare the poverty of today to the poverty of 200 years ago.
No, but what we're measuring,
say that relatively,
what we're measuring
that isn't as bad.
What we are measuring is improvement. I'm not saying that's you're lucky to have that.
Improvement
what I'm saying
of poverty is still poverty because
basically this is the way I would put it. Okay.
I'm not even sure what I'm arguing here anymore, but improvement, I find it a really weird argument to say, well, 200 years ago, the poverty of 200 years ago was worse than the poverty of today, and so therefore there's been improvement. It's like, yeah, but the everything of 200 years ago was worse than now. Like literally everything has improved.
But here's the thing, it hasn't improved for everyone, only really in capitalist countries. And here's the thing, capitalism, because it's so objective, it encourages objective standards. People are hired based upon their competence, based on, how they work, not based on arbitrary things like religion or race. Capitalism encourages people to be more objective. And that's why a lot of people, previously oppressed minorities, women, recently members of the LGBT community, have been able to demand rights almost uniquely in capitalist countries. That's why I mention it.
Just to sort of pause it there, and you mentioned that capitalism encourages the meritocracy of hiring people, would you not, based on their qualifications and skills, would you not argue that the structure of being in a capitalist society means that some people get better access to education and the kind of things that would help for you to get better qualifications? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
It depends, again, all on how capitalism is utilized. And that's the thing. That's where we come in. Is capitalism being used as it should? No.
Could it ever be? Theoretically, yes, but realistically,
has it ever been?
Well, let's. What you've got to consider is how do you get the best result of anything? How would you say if you wanted to produce something, anything of quality?
No, what I'm saying is, in a capitalist society, has there ever been an instance where there's been nobody living below the poverty line?
There never will be, probably.
Because of capitalism?
No, well, no, not because of people. You will never, ever get a system where people aren't taken advantage of and abused. You'll never get it. Where human beings are just, it's the way we are. It's congruent through all of nature. Animals do it.
We might as well just give up then, don't we? Hey?
No, well, what we've got to do is we've got to try and produce the best system. So
yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying in that, there's the way that the system is one thing, but you can never eradicate people from making stupid fucking decisions.
No.
So I watched a program. There was a program a while ago. It was called the Great British Benefits Handout or something like that. Yeah. And it was a really interesting program. They went, right.
Is it in a tent? Paul Hollywood and Prue Leith. Today, I want you to recreate universal credit.
Yeah, and they had to go in and pitch their ideas. And one guy, what have you made with your universal credit? Well, it's a dungeon with fairground music.
That's it. Get it, let it go.
Just clinging to this, aren't you?
So the fact that it was paid for by the taxpayers makes it even more nefarious. I love it.
Dad's got a state-owned sex circus.
The idea that there's a bit of benefit for on in there as well.
Big society top.
I'm still trying to cling to a thread here.
You did what to those women, and on whose dollar? The Great British Benefits Handout, the idea is instead of us paying you benefits every month and you scrimping and saving by, we are going to give it you in one big lump sum, and you can use that to then transform and revolutionize your life by starting businesses and creating enterprise.
Wow.
And then making yourself self-sufficient.
Yes.
Which is a good idea in theory.
And how did that turn out?
Well, some of them fucking nailed it. So there were people who set up properly good, sustainable businesses that they were passionate about that helped them get off benefits. However, there were other people who so there was one woman, right, who's in her 40s or whatever. She gets the thing. First thing she does is gets a full course of Botox. That's the first thing that she did.
Well, it's
like,
you
fucking idiot. What are you doing?
I can summarize my defense of capitalism by just simply proving, a bit of congruency. So let's go to a bit of ethology, talk about nature for a second here, because it will be relevant. About 2% of life that has ever existed is still alive today. So how do we know a slug is qualified to live on this planet? Because it exists, because it evolved to be here. If there was anything better suited to live on this planet, then it would be that organism that would be here. But it's not. It's us. It's the animal kingdom.
Yeah, it's not Darwinism.
Well, it's evolution.
Yeah.
Now, ideas operate in the same way. Capitalism is the result, whether you like it or not, is the result of cultural, organic evolution over time through individual consumer choices and freedoms.
I disagree with that massively, mate.
Well, then how is
I
it
agree
here?
with him.
So, because the thing is,
he's right.
But
was capitalism ever? Go on.
Isn't the sole pursuit of it profit based? So
No.
you could have many great ideas that fall by the wayside because they aren't profit making, because they create value in other ways.
Maybe now, but what you got to understand is when capitalism was in its babyhood, its origins found itself in necessity. We need this thing. We need this. We need that. We need that. We need this. And gradually over the course of thousands of years of civilization, we filled those things and we sold them. And over time, generations of consumer choice and freedom, and that's very important, freedom and choice, we ended up with this system. And that's what we've got. Now, I don't think it's right to say arbitrarily, well, this system has winners and losers, and we got to think about the loser. Fucking scrap it. Because, I mean, any other system, name it, invent anything you want, same result or worse. Because the fundamental truth is human beings are flawed.
But one of the things that I think is interesting about Squid Game, yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah,
is you talk about winners and losers. So you talked about them almost as if they were equal. There's winners and there's losers. But
no,
in
they're
Squid
definitely
Game, and especially in capitalism.
Oh, you mean in terms of the opportunities?
In Squid Game and in capitalism, there is one winner and a fucking shit ton of losers. So maybe it's not about eliminating the losers. Maybe it's about redressing that balance.
Okay, right.
Maybe we could have 50 winners.
You're talking about equity.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous prospect.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. In order to achieve equity, you need to resort to a very dangerous word called force. Now that's a slippery slope in any ways. If you want people to start a race, now we can talk.
Or as his dad calls it, the Helter Skelter.
Dad, I'm so sorry. I came on here to build my reputation, not destroy my father's.
That's a good clarion call. I came here to build my reputation, not to destroy my father. I love that.
Anyway,
talk about that.
That's the tagline to the film, isn't it?
Anyway,
God.
that's the trailer line. Anyway.
I love how we've tried to talk about capitalism and Squid Game, and for some reason we've painted your poor dad
honestly
as some sort of fairground rapist.
He'll have you whacked. Right.
We're one of the big hammers.
Just keep popping up to the table.
Oh, yeah. Right.
If
So,
you gets you white hard enough, a big bell goes off and you win a teddy.
I've forgotten what I was going to fucking say. What was I saying?
Something about hook a duck.
I'm good at that as well.
Equity and force.
Equity and how it's a dangerous prospect.
Because you need force, it's a slippery slope.
Okay, right. Force. Right. Fucking take a breath, man.
God.
You're going to get paid in your chest.
I know, that's what the cause is. I'm with you now.
Oh, fucking hell. Go on. Sorry, equity. Go on.
Right. So the trouble, if you have a bunch of people start and you want them to all end at the same place, you've got to take people doing better and you've got to bring them down. You've got to uplift other people. The only way you do that is through force. Force is the anti-mind. It removes the ability to act upon your thinking.
If we talk about, for example, I mean, you mentioned you've got to take people who are rising and bring them down.
Yes.
I don't think you have to bring them down. I think you have to hold them in the same place. And I think that there's a difference. No, there's a difference. So let's say...
Well, that is holding them back.
Well, let's say, for example...
They might want to get here and you're saying, no, you're here.
What would you think about a proposed wealth cap? So, whereby, once you hit...
The richest person gets a nice hat.
I'll tell you that... do you want me to...
Once you get to 10 billion... Once you get to 10 billion pounds, you can't go further.
I'll tell you why.
That's not capitalism, though, is it?
No, I'll tell you why that doesn't work either, because that destroys incentive. The reason a lot of these big companies produce the sheer amount of product and material and capital that they do is because they're incentivized to do it.
Through what?
Through gains, through what they get out of it.
And what is their gains?
Whatever they make.
Money.
Yeah, and if you cap that, they won't work.
What if,
they just won't work.
That to me is the root of the problem, is that the gains, the incentive is money. Surely, why would the incentive not be social change for the people that have helped you to get to that point?
Because people don't work like that. And
why not?
Because they just
don't.
Some
organisations do.
Some try to, but they don't last.
John Lewis.
Really? There's a dude who...
John Lewis.
If you... Look,
there's a dude who...
Hang on, John Lewis. That's a great organisation.
Okay.
Greggs are an amazing employer organisation.
Okay, Timson's, Richard Sounds.
But again, you're talking about a severe minority of
Of course I am, but I'm saying, give you examples of where it can work.
Oh, I'm not saying it can't. Of course it can. But the reason it doesn't on a larger scale is because unless we go through another, I don't know, few hundred, maybe even 1,000 years of cultural evolution, we're just not at that point yet.
There's people who say they don't mind. Right, what about the people, what about this argument or this opinion that says, all right, you can make as much money as you like, okay? And we're going to talk about Amazon, and we're going to talk about Apple, and we can talk about Google and all these multi-billion international corporations, okay? And they go, they're fine because they employ people, they make our lives better, they provide good services. But then there are people that say, hang on a minute, but they're not paying their fair share. They're not paying the right amount of tax for the profits they're making. Yeah. Now, so the sort of simplistic argument is make them, yeah?
Yeah.
Make them. But governments and Treasury will not do that because...
They're scared to lose them.
They're scared to lose them. So it's a kind of like they've lost the power. The power balance is out.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the majority of people in this country, the democracy, would be willing to say, no, they need to pay their fair share. But actually, democracy then is not working, is it? Because actually at the top, our paymasters... you know, actually in hock to the large organisations and the corporations. Mm-hmm. So essentially what capitalism has created is a system where it now owns not only the means of production, but it owns everything. It owns democracy, it owns policy, and it owns the will and the health service, because they Google tomorrow could change the fortunes of a country that it decides to pay its tax in.
Yeah, you're correct.
Do you hear the people sing the song of angry men?
Here's the thing. The question isn't, does capitalism do that? And of course, the answer is yes, it does. The question isn't what do we do about, what's the solution?
Revolution.
Okay.
Anarchy, that's the solution.
Although-
That's the only thing I bring down capitalism, isn't it?
So what's force? Well, then I disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying what shall we do. I'm saying that's what you can do.
Well, you can do that, but the solution at the end of the day is down to us as consumers.
And then we know what happens then. What we know what happens is that anarchy comes along, idealists take over through methods of force, and then within a cycle, whatever that may be, a year, 5 years, 10 years, corruption is then endemic because it is human nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you about to say the solution is on us as consumers to make more informed choices and et cetera, et cetera?
That's where the power
But
always has to lie.
But would you say that it still lies in something like that? I challenge you to go one day making only ethical purchases and choices. It's not possible.
It's not. Again,
it is possible.
It's not.
Freddie.
It's not though, is it?
It is possible, Freddie. It is possible because to make an ethical choice, you have to take the most ethical option available to yourself, and you can do that on a daily basis.
Okay, yeah. I guess you're right in what you're saying then that, yeah, I understand that. But what I mean is, I guess what I was trying to get at is that there are companies with such a monopoly, like, for example, Amazon. Right now, it is very difficult for people to buy out of that system.
But then Amazon would counter-argument that, and I do like some of the stuff that they do. Their marketplace stuff, where they encourage... They've made millionaires out of home workers.
I've used Amazon's. I've used Amazon's marketplace before as a seller.
Yeah.
So they do offer opportunities, and again, it's all about infrastructure, objective, useful infrastructure.
How many millionaires have they made through marketplace?
Lots and lots. I mean, it's an
and not just
incredible
millionaires, but
story.
people just making a living.
But then you would also argue that is that worth the treatment of the warehouse workers?
Yeah, but I mean, if you work in a warehouse, you deserve it. You should have tried harder at school.
See, now you're starting to sound
like a wicked mill owner.
No, but the way you talk is in a very objective sense. Like it's down to individual choice and where they.
I'm reviewing the situation.
Finally, a reference I understand.
Do you know what? I noticed how quickly he changed the subject when we started talking about football. Like, there was such a quick shift where you were like, I'm not going to get involved in this one.
Yeah. A wise man says nothing when he has nothing to say.
But I mean, it is... I mean,
if that was the case, it'd just be you talking this podcast.
Believe it or believe it not, it's not nothing, it's difficult to see change. But as I think it was the situation it said, be realistic, demand the impossible.
The question is how.
Don't you, Freddie?
I do like that. I do like that. Sounds like the sort of thing I'd you put on the walls.
Title.
The question.
They did write it on the walls in Paris in 1968. Be realistic, demand the impossible.
No, it reminds me of the sort of thing that they put on the walls of a CrossFit gym. Do you know what I mean?
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
It's not really though, is it? It's more...
The question is, and always it is, how change? Fine. How is change brought about? Now, I vehemently disagree that change should be brought about by force because number one, it won't last, and number two, because if it's not organic, if people don't organically accept the end of an evil practice, then they'll resist it, and you'll just cause division.
Do you think we have capitalist sympathizers?
It would define capitalist sympathizers.
Like the French were with the Nazis. Do you think? No, I think. I also think this as well is that I've always historically, culturally, and aesthetically voted Labour.
It's getting harder though, isn't it?
It's not. It's actually getting easier.
You think?
For me, it is. Yeah. But I've always voted Labour, and I've always been surprised when the Tories have these huge majorities. And it's a funny thing because I think people who vote Tory never really tell anybody.
No, they don't. Silent majority, innit?
Yeah.
That's because there's right now there's a lot of persecution going around with right wing politics. If you say oh, I voted for Trump, you could lose your fucking job. You know, it's.
Well, it's funny because the majority of comedians are left wing, but
the majority of the entertainment industry is left wing.
Every once in a while, a comedian will come out as right wing, and it's sort of like, you know, in wrestling when like a good guy suddenly has a heel turn or whatever. It's like, what's Hulk Hogan doing? He's just punched an old man in the face. You know, it's like, and they'll come down and it'll be like, you know, they'll come on Twitter with their crazy opinions, and some of them just do it just try and revive their career.
I think most comedians are centrist. I think I'm probably centrist.
I probably am. I'm probably slightly left of centre. I get more right wing as I get older. The more shit I own.
That's
the old joke, innit? Good job Hitler died when he did.
That's the
see how he turned out.
That's the old adage. You get more right wing as you get older.
Yeah, because I own more shit.
Well, exactly.
Because when I was 20 and I owned fuck all, I was like, do you know what? Everyone should just live with each other and we could all be wonderful. And now I've just
as I've got older, I've actually become more egalitarian, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
That's spread it out a bit.
Well, that's your free choice to do. Thanks to a capitalist system, I would add. If you were in another system, like what would you replace capitalism with? What would be the best contender?
Sort of like capitalism light.
Still capitalism then?
Yeah, I think probably socialism. I think
I would agree.
I think universal healthcare. I think we should own. I think the state should own the sort of railways. I think the state should own the telephones. I think it should own the.
I agree with
power
you
and all that sort of thing. I think utilities should be state owned.
But when you say capitalist light and then go still capitalism, it's yeah, but you're focusing on the capitalism bit and not on the light bit. And I think the light bit is the most important.
Again, capitalism can be employed to do a lot of things.
Well, you call it socialism then, because I think
but it's not.
But it's not socialism.
It's not socialism.
The argument, the thing is capitalism evil? The answer is no.
But it does need reining in a bit.
Yes, but that doesn't make it evil. That doesn't mean that it is.
So the question in this debate is capitalism evil? Well, no, because it can't be, because it isn't.
It's not a thing. It's not.
Or is capitalism a good thing? It depends on who's using it.
You know, is the system of capitalism, is it divisive? And you know, also, what capitalism does, and you talked a lot about human nature and about free will, it actually allows for more of that greed and that free nature and that human, free will.
I think what we need is we need to take people who have no money and get them to participate in a series of like It's a Knockout style events for massive grand prize money of several millions of pounds.
Squid Game.
7 million yens.
Yeah. But British.
British Squid
Game. What
would
we call it then? Welk Wars.
Fucking defo. I would defo watch Welk Wars.
I want to watch Welk Wars.
Tuning in on a Saturday night to watch Welk Wars.
Contestants ready.
Yeah, get Richard Hammond do the commentating.
You will go on my first whistle. You just done that to bring it all to a conclusion. You've done very well there, Fred.
Thank you, mate.
We had 50 contestants with only one bowl of chips.
Yeah. Mate, I'd get on
That's
board.
like a weekend in Glasgow.
Hey! We're coming full circle.
Yeah, it's all coming together. I see what you mean now. But
have you? You see, it comes. You just got to let it flow, let it do it once, and then at the pivotal minute, we rein it back in.
Well, thanks very much for having me on your podcast.
I see. He's really trying to push.
I am wrapping it up now. I'm looking at my watch. You know,
fucking
got a corporate to get to tonight.
Time called. Who you corporate for?
I can't tell you.
Can you not?
NDA, mate.
No, you've not.
I have.
Have you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I have.
You've got a non-disclosure agreement for
an arms company.
Capitalism in action. There we go. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think how much I would charge. I'm trying to think if there's a company that's so evil that I would not perform for them. Disney. Oh, 100% I would.
Really?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'd be charging $1, but I'd definitely perform for Disney. If they turned around to me and said, "Listen, Freddie, your voice is perfect for fucking Finding Nemo,
snuff movies,
Finding Nemo 4, Nemo gets trapped in a basement listening to fucking fairground music or whatever.
No, Nemo's in a little plastic bag.
That's more like it.
Where's Nemo? He's been won on ring toss. Right, I'm done. We're tapping out. That's such a great moment to end on. Before we go, Sam, thank you ever so much for having us on. Is there anything that you'd like to plug?
I've got a book coming out called The August View, which is a sci-fi, which I know you fucking hate. But it's sort of...
The August View, is it about Freddie's Fringe audiences?
No. It's an exploration of, ethology and nature and, all sorts of things. But explaining it would be like explaining a joke, so... Yeah, that's all I'll say.
When's it out?
Mercifully brief. I don't know, when it's done.
All right. Have you got books out already?
No, it's my first one.
Right,
nice.
cool.
Are you going to self-publish or go through somebody?
I don't fucking know. I'll make it up as I go along.
Nice. Well, you see how that works out for us.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the YouTube comments have to say. I'll reserve judgment.
What about yourself, Justin? Anything you want to plug?
No.
You got a podcast, haven't you?
It's going on a hiatus at the moment, so...
How come?
Can't be arsed. Everyone's doing podcasts, aren't they? So, yeah, I've had over 1 million downloads of my podcast. It's called About 30 Minutes, no more than 45.
Have you?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Okay, that's impressive.
Thank you. And it's generally a slice of my working life, so I carry it around as like an audio diary.
Yeah.
But then during lockdown, obviously, I wasn't doing anything. So I started chatting to people more and doing the sort of one-to-one thing. But I think so many podcasts out that I just sort of like gave it a bit of time off. So should be coming back. Be back this autumn. I've got a couple in the bank ready to go and that sort of thing. My daughter's the major star of the podcast, and we talk about men's mental health a little bit, and we talk about this, that, and the other bit of poetry every now and then.
Nice, and it's called
Sci-Fi Free Zone.
About 30 minutes, no more than 45, and you can find it on all of your podcast apps. And finally, if you have enjoyed this, we're going to have a little break now, and then we record Pigoted Extra, which is an extra podcast just for Patreon listeners. And if you want to get involved in that, you go to patreon.com/Pigoted. Prices start from £4 a week, £4 a month, and for that you get literally everything. It's £1 a week. You help support the show, and you help buy into the capitalist system of getting me fucking dollared up, so I can afford all the things that I want in life, such as private healthcare. Subscribe to subscribe on YouTube or whatever, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Pigoted is sponsored by Taylor's Toys. Taylor's Toys are a sex toy company. They specialise in doing high-quality sex toys that won't fall apart after 1 or 2 uses. Head over to taylorstoys.co.uk, check out the amazing range that they've got on offer, and if you use the discount code PIGOTED at checkout, you get yourself 10% off on all products. Taylor's Toys. Spice things up in the bedroom. Thank me later.